Welcome to the Overstock Academy weekly podcast, where we talk about finding name brand store overstock products and reselling them online in places such as eBay, Amazon, Shopify, and even your own website. In today's episode, I'm going to share the 10 tactics I use to avoid getting scammed by a wholesale vendor. If you're like me, when you start getting serious about selling online, you realize pretty quickly how difficult it is to find profitable products to resell. In your search, you will encounter numerous gurus and courses on how to find products to sell. You'll hear anything ranging from sourced from China, private labeling, drop shipping, and so on, showing a lot of bling while offering a lot of vague advice. This can be a very scary time, especially if you're trying to make every decision and dollar count. There is a fear of getting scammed, losing all your money, and not receiving the products you expected, and worst of all, receiving products that sell slower than molasses going uphill in January. Now, if you go to overstockacademypodcast.com/105, I posted a free PDF guide for you with the material I'm going to cover today. In that guide, I'll show you a couple examples of people who got scammed by quote-unquote wholesalers, so you can see how easy it is to make this costly mistake. This is not your fault, and you are not alone. Everyone goes through the scary period when starting to sell online. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it either. It's true. People do get scammed, and people do lose all their money. So you are 100% justified in being cautious and slow to make a decision. But don't worry, the tips I'm going to share with you in this guide should help. These are normally only available to paying students at Overstock Academy, but after seeing incidents like these on the rise, I knew it was time to speak up and help. Quick backstory, Overstock Nation. I was facing the same fears when I started my search for products to sell online. I was pretty new to this online selling thing, so I bought a course by a well-known online selling guru. One of the recommendations from him was to source products from overseas wholesalers. Now, he went as far as selling you a list of verified vendors that you could trust. So I went ahead and located one on the list that had products I was interested in. He specialized in computer software, and since I had some IT experience after working with my husband, I decided to start there. The prices were great, and I could see myself making a killing on these. The vendor stated that they were an authorized international software distributor. They had phenomenal reviews and 4 out of 5 out of a 5-star feedback. I went ahead and I placed the order. When I received this popular software from the vendor, they were all sealed and in what appeared to be original packaging. Now, upon visual inspection, they were perfect. They were sealed in manufacturer packaging and had all the serial numbers. Again, if you go to overstockacademypodcast.com/105, I'll show you actual pictures of the products I'm talking about today. I even went to the local Office Depot to compare the ones I had bought from overseas with the ones on the shelves, and they were identical. Naturally, since I was a rookie, I got excited. Now, without second thought, I started selling, and boy did they sell fast. I sold out of my first batch in just days. So I immediately ordered another batch, this time an even larger order. I even had the seller expedite the shipping so I could get back to selling as soon as possible. So a few weeks after shipping the first batch of products to my customers, I started receiving some serious complaints and support requests. Most of the buyers were unable to activate the software. Others reported the discs were blank or unreadable and even cracked. It turns out the software was all counterfeit. When I reached out to the vendor, I immediately knew I was in serious trouble. He stopped responding to my complaints and refund requests. I had spent all the money I had gotten from my initial sales to place my second order, so I couldn't even afford to refund the buyers. I had just been scammed by a seller in China recommended by a so-called guru. Oh, I was fuming. I felt taken advantage of, purely because I was a newbie. So naturally, I went back to the guru's Facebook group and asked the question. Now, despite all the complaints from me and several other students of the course, these scammy vendors remained on his approved and vetted vendor list. Why? What I discovered later was that the vendors had paid to be on the freaking list. Now, after this nightmare, the biggest risk to my business was that my online selling accounts were facing the threat of being shut down. eBay and Amazon have a zero tolerance policy for sellers dealing in counterfeit products. Even though I was finally able to refund all the buyers, my Amazon account was suspended. It was years before I was able to recover the account through a process I would not wish on my worst enemy. I was able to salvage my eBay account after issuing refunds. However, for a while there, my young new business was again on the verge of being extinguished. It's not like I had a ton of money to refund people. I was just a newbie. Now, my experience with this guru is the biggest reason why I teach people how to find legit vendors on their own, like I did. Even though at Overstock Academy I provide contact info for the actual legit vendors I use, I don't want you to rely on me or anyone else to help you find legit vendors. Just to be clear though, at Overstock Academy, I don't have a special approved vendors list that someone can pay me to be a part of, and I never will. By the way, this was just one of the many rookie mistakes that I made. It forced me to come up with the 10 vendor approval guidelines I'm about to share with you next. These guidelines will help you protect yourself when buying from a new vendor, and you can download the full PDF version of this guide for free at overstockacademypodcast.com/105. But here's the short version. Number 1, always do your due diligence. So when you're picking a vendor to source inventory from, you're going to want to do extensive research on them prior to making your first purchase. This process includes making sure they have a physical address and phone number. Check that both are still real. Don't just trust what you see on the site. Make sure the vendor is active on social media, not just their website. Vendors can control their website reviews and comments, so you want to check sources that are out of their control, such as Ripoff Report, Yelp, Google, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, places like that. Number 2, you want to check for the vendor's responsiveness. You're going to want to test how responsive they are. Are they interested in your business? Do they understand what you're looking for? Are they willing to work with you in any way that they can to provide you with top inventory? Now, how fast do they respond to your questions, calls, or emails? Remember, if a vendor is unresponsive before you buy, it only gets worse after you buy, so steer clear. Number 3, you're going to want to start small. Once you get a feel for a vendor and you're ready to make your first purchase, you must start small. Okay, this is extremely important. Skipping this step could cost you some big bucks. Even though you may have spent several telephone conversations explaining to your vendor what you are looking for as far as quality, conditions, and quantities, you want to buy small so you can see the products for yourself. Now, unless you are able to physically see the inventory before purchasing it, don't take a chance on investing too much money into products when you're just taking the word from another person. Once you make your first small purchase and you can confirm that you and your vendor are on the same page about quality, your business long-term needs, then you can make larger purchases with the proper communication. Now remember, you can recover from losing a small amount of money if the vendor turns out to be dishonest. Take it slow and let them prove themselves with more than just their word. Number 4, look for a vendor who will build and maintain trust with you. Now, without being able to physically see inventory, you'll be counting on a vendor's description of the product, pictures, and opinions of the goods. You are truly putting your trust in them to provide you with the correct information, which means that when you receive the products, they better be exactly as the vendor represented them to you prior to the purchase, right? Now, if they aren't, end the relationship. You can't trust them. It's obvious that they are trying to make a quick sale at the expense of your goodwill. Don't give them a second chance. A good vendor will want to take the time to build a relationship with you. Now, to this day, long after I sold my business, I still receive phone calls and texts from vendors that I worked with over the years. And they're just calling to say hello and see how my family and I are doing. The relationships you form with a good vendor will last forever and beyond your business. A good vendor will never take advantage of you, and they won't just go for a fast and easy sale. They'll take their time getting to know you, your needs, and what you expect. Number 5, avoid brokers and middlemen. Okay, always check to see how close a vendor is to the source of the products you are buying. This ensures that you're getting the best possible price and the most accurate information about the product. Now, some of the national retailers you'll be getting Overstock products from will have an internal department that handles the secondary market, or they'll use a third-party Overstock wholesaler. You'll need to find out if the vendor you're dealing with is a broker or an actual wholesale liquidator. The further away from the source, the more money you're paying. Remember, all those cats on the food chain gotta eat too. Number 6, avoid double dippers, aka cherry pickers. Okay, double dippers are the most dangerous category of vendors that you can buy from. You need to find out, does the vendor sell both wholesale and retail? This is a huge red flag. Now, most of the time, these are what we call cherry pickers. Someone who will filter through products and pick out the best ones to sell as retail. Then they bundle together what we would consider junk and sell that to you. Huge red flag again, okay? Stay as far away from these guys as humanly possible. A good rule of thumb is the bigger the vendor is, the less likely it is that they even have the time to cherry pick. Now next, I'm going to tell you the reason why and why you need to get as close to the source as you can, okay? When a vendor is an agent for, let's say, Best Buy, basically they are contracted by Best Buy to move all their Overstock merchandise. This means that they are receiving 4 to 10 truckloads per day. The agent has to accept the truckloads and they have to move the product as fast as possible. Now, just to maintain the contract with Best Buy. Without moving the products and making room for the new truckloads, they lose the contract. And those contracts are gold. I know a company that recently went belly up due to losing one contract with a huge retailer. And I'm sorry, but I can't name any names. In my Overstock business, through research and diligence, I eventually got as close to the source as I possibly could. This is what maximized my profits, okay? Most of the direct sources that I provide at Overstock Academy are the actual source itself. I show you what the requirements are and how to set yourself up to give the best first impression and get the white glove treatment. They don't pay to be on that list. They simply earned my trust and my business. And if they ever break it, I'll take them off my source list faster than they can blink. The 7th thing is visit the warehouse. Now, of course, if you are able to, you are going to want to visit the warehouse personally. Now, many of my vendors were in different states, so I was unable to visit the actual warehouses. But if you are in close proximity to a vendor and you are interested in them, definitely set up a time to go visit. Now, a visit will give you first-hand look at the type of products they have as well as the systems that they use. If a vendor does not want you to visit their warehouse, this is another huge red flag. An honest vendor and a trustworthy vendor has nothing to hide. They will be thrilled that you want to visit their warehouse because you are a potential buyer. They will want to build a relationship with you. In fact, good vendors usually love to show off their facilities. So if you can't travel, then at the very least, ask for a Skype call or a FaceTime with them, especially the first time you are making a purchase. Now next, you're going to want to make sure the vendor has reliable payment methods. What payment methods do they accept? A vendor should be able to process credit cards and or PayPal transfer. Okay, never pay a vendor with a wire transfer or cash, especially if it's your first purchase. If they tell you that's the only mode of payment they accept, then run. If something goes wrong with your purchase and you've paid with a wire transfer, you have no protection or process for recourse. You can basically kiss the money you spent goodbye. A reputable vendor would have no problem accepting a credit card payment, even if they charge you a fee for it and would stand behind their products. Now, just to clarify, in this industry with most vendors, all sales are final. However, If you order 2,500 purses and receive 200 empty shoe boxes, you will have a good ground to appeal through your credit card company or PayPal to file a dispute for the transaction with the proper documents. After my first time getting scammed, where I wire transferred the money, I was lucky. Now, I used this vendor approval list that I'm sharing with you now and found incredible reps, wholesalers, and agents. They are all honest and jumped quickly to resolve any issue I ever had. Number 9, bring a healthy skepticism to vendor promises. Okay, stay away from vendors who claim you will make a certain dollar amount per day or week. No one can determine that. That will only be determined by your product research, which I teach at Overstock Academy, following a proven sales system, and the amount of work that you are willing to put into your business. And number 10, never pay to join. Lastly, never pay to join a vendor's buying club or whatever fancy program they have. A reputable company doesn't need to charge its potential buyers for the privilege of creating an account. They make their money and sustain their business by selling you good products and providing excellent service. My nightmare vendor experience almost put me out of business, but it didn't. I survived it and I lived to tell about it. Overstock Nation, my hope for you is that this guide helps you avoid the pitfalls that numerous sellers of all experience levels fall for at least once in their business lives. Sadly, I still see these incidents happening even today. There are countless horror stories on some of the Facebook groups I'm still a member of. Now, I finally got tired of seeing people getting conned and losing their hard-earned money. I cannot stand the fact that this is still going on in this industry. Since I have overcome the challenges most online sellers are facing today, I decided to do something about this. First, I started answering questions on these Facebook groups and online forums. Then I realized that I was answering the same questions over and over again. Plus, I really couldn't keep up with all the messages. Next, I created these guides so that all I had to do to answer a question was simply share a link. Still, I got more questions on how to tie it all together. That is how this guide evolved into what is now Overstock Academy and this podcast. Now, I truly hope this week's show was beneficial to you. If it was, feel free to share. There's definitely plenty enough profits to go around. And also, please rate and review us. If you have any questions, please feel free to send them in and we'll get them answered for you. My email address is amy@overstockacademy.com. Also note that for the benefit of other listeners, your question may be read out loud and answered in an upcoming show. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. Those question and answer sessions are pure gold. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you again in the next episode.